ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ ಶಾಂತಿ ಶಾಂತಿ ಶಾಂತಿಃ. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನನ್ನ ಆಧಾರದ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ನಾನು ಅಂಜಲಿ ಗುರುನಾಥ್ ಕಾಂಬ್ಳೆ, ಜಗದ್ಗುರು ವಾಣಿಜ್ಯ ಮಹಾವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯ ಹುಬ್ಬಳ್ಳಿ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಿಂದ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮುಂದೆ ಇಂದಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ನಿರೂಪಣೆ ಮಾಡಲು ಬಂದಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಮೊದಲನೇದಾಗಿ ದಿಶಾ ಭಾರತ್ ಫೌಂಡೇಶನ್ ಅವ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದೆರಡು ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನಾಡಲು ಇಷ್ಟಪಡುತ್ತೇನೆ. ಇಂದಿನ ದಿಶಾ ಭಾರತ್ 2005ರಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಥಾಪಿತವಾದ ಲಾಭರಹಿತ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯಾಗಿದ್ದು ಯುವಜನರಲ್ಲಿ ಮೌಲ್ಯ ಆಧಾರಿತ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿತ್ವವನ್ನು ಬೆಳೆಸುವ ಉದ್ದೇಶದಿಂದ ಕಾರ್ಯನಿರ್ವಹಿಸುತ್ತಿದೆ. ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ದಿಶಾ ಭಾರತ್ ಫೌಂಡೇಶನ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನು ತಿಳಿಸುತ್ತಾ, ಮೊದಲನೆಯದಾಗಿ ಇಂದು ಮೈ ಭಾರತ್ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸ ಸ್ಮರಣೆಯ ಮೊದಲನೆಯ ದಿನದ ಆಗಸ್ಟ್ 1 ಶನಿವಾರದಂದು 7 ಗಂಟೆಗೆ ಹಮ್ಮಿಕೊಳ್ಳಲಾದ ಮೊದಲನೇ ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ ಆದ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಕೋರುತ್ತೇನೆ. ಅವರ ಹೆಸರು ಬಂದು ಸ್ವಾತಿಕ್ ಎಲ್ ಭರದ್ವಾಜ್. ಇವರು ಮಂಗಳೂರಿನ ಕೆನರಾ ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದವರು. ಇವರು ಮಾತನಾಡಲು ಹೊರಟಿರುವ ವಿಷಯ ಬಾಲ್ ಗಂಗಾಧರ್ ತಿಲಕ್.
धौत पदां हिमालय किरीटिनीं ब्रह्मराजर्षिरत्नाढ्यां वन्दे भारतमातरम्. I bow to Mother India, whose feet are washed by the ocean Ratnakara, who wears the Himalayas as her crown, and who is richly adorned by great sages and seers. Namaskar to all our people joining us online. I'm Sajid K. Bharadwaj, second year BSc degree national life. Disha Bharat an opportunity to be a people were afraid to speak. Imagine in India where asking for freedom was considered a crime. At such a time, fearless, स्वराज मेरा जन्मसिद्ध अधिकार है और मैं इसे लेकर रहूंगा. It is a great honor for me to stand before you to speak about such one great patriot, nationalist, and courageous journalist who inspired the spirit of his immortal words. Swaraj is have it. It is none other than Lokamanya Bharadanga. Keshav Gangadhar Tilak was born on 23rd July 1856 in Marathi Hindu Chitpavan Brahmin family in Ratnagiri, the headquarters of Ratnagiri district of Presidency. Tilak completed his mother was Ati Bai Gangadhar. She was a devout and a religious woman who played a significant role in his early beginning. When Tilak was a school teacher and a Sanskrit very who was known for three qualities: intelligence, courage, and justice. One day, the teacher found pieces scattered inside the classroom and asked everyone to admit who had eaten them. Although Tilak had not done it, the teacher punished the whole class. Tilak refused to accept punishment for something he had not done. He respectfully said, "I will never accept punishment for a mistake I did not commit." This courage remained with him throughout his life. Then Tilak was married to Satyama Bhai when he was 16, a few months before his father's death. Tilak obtained his BA in mathematics in first class from Deccan College of Pune in 1877. In 1879, he obtained his LLB from Government Law College. After his education, instead of taking up a government job and have a secure life, Tilak decided to dedicate himself to the social service and to not to serve the British as slaves. Then he started to teach mathematics at a private school, but he strongly opposed the Western education system that should not merely prepare the students for jobs, instead, it should prepare them to serve the nation. According to him, it was harmful for Indian culture and its people. Why did Tilak reject a comfortable government career? Tilak, inspired by Vishnu Shastri Chipulkar, he co-founded the New English School for Secondary Education in 1880. Few of his college friends, including Gopal Ganesh Agarkar, Mahadev Ballal Ram Joshi, and Vishnu Shastri Chipulkar, because he believed education should not produce clerks, it should produce patriots. The success of school led to set up the Deccan Society in 1884 to create a new system of education that taught young Indians nationalist ideas through an emphasis on Indian culture. Later in 1890, Tilak left the Education Society for more open political work. He began a mass movement towards the independence by an emphasis on religious and cultural revival. In order to enlighten the masses, Tilak took journalism, and in 1881 he started two newspapers, Kesari in Marathi and the Maratha in English. His pen became stronger than any other weapon. He wrote fearless strongly criticized the British government brutal attacks and anti-national policies in his writings. This reminds us that freedom begins with fearless thoughts. The British government feared his words because they inspired ordinary people to become extraordinary citizens. Tilak then joined Indian National Congress in 1890. He opposed the moderate leader's tolerant attitude towards British government. In subsequent years, Tilak started a novel way of organizing people by creating the common platforms through festivals. In 1894, Tilak transformed household worshipping of Ganesha into grand public event Sarvajanik Ganeshotsav. The celebration consisted of several days of procession, music, and food. In 1895, Tilak also began the celebration of Shivaji Jayanti, the birth anniversary of Shivaji, the great Maratha king, and is known for forever. People often would celebrate Hindu and national glory and address political issues, including patronage of Swadeshi goods. The events like Sarvajanik Ganeshotsav and Shivaji Jayanti were used by the Tilak national spirit beyond the circle of the educated elite in opposition to colonial rule. During late 1896, a bubonic plague spread from Bombay to Pune, and by January 1897, it reached its epidemic. The British Indian Army was brought into the deal with the emergency, and strict measures were employed to curb the plague. The government appointed a special plague officer who was called as W.C. Rand to control the epidemic. The Rand restarted the people inhumanly, made forced entry into private houses, evacuated the people into hospitals, and quarantine camps brutally, removing and destroying personal possession and preventing patients from entering or leaving the city. By the end of the May, the epidemic was, however, under control. But the measure used to curb the pandemic caused widespread resentment among the Indian public. By publishing forceful and strongly worded articles in his newspapers, Kesari and Maratha, Tilak sharply criticized the oppressive plague measures and argued that resistance to injustice was morally justified. Following this, on 22nd June 1897, Commissioner Rand and another British officer, Lieutenant Arrest, were shot and killed by Chapekar brothers and their other associates. The British government were shaken by this incident and its provocative writings because they inspired ordinary people to become extraordinary citizens, outraged with extreme resentment and anger. Then Tilak was charged with the incitement to murder and sentenced to 18 months imprisonment in 1897. When he emerged from the prison in present-day Mumbai, he was revered as a martyr and a national hero. He adopted new slogan coined by his associate Kaka, Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it. These were not merely words, they are the heartbeat of Indians' freedom struggle. When Tilak declared this slogan, people who had lost hope suddenly gained courage. He transformed fear into confidence. He transformed ordinary citizens into freedom fighters. Sometimes one sentence changes whole history. Then, following the partition of Bengal into East and West on October 16, 1905, by the Viceroy Lord Curzon, separating the Hindu majority Western areas from the Muslim majority Eastern areas in order to weaken the nationalist movement. In response to it, Tilak started the Swadeshi movement and the boycott movement, which gained popularity and created the fear of revolution among Britishers. The movement consisted of boycott of foreign goods and also the social boycott of any Indian who used foreign goods. The Swadeshi movement consisted of the usage of locally produced goods. Once foreign goods were boycotted, there was a gap which had to be filled by production of these goods in India itself. Tilak said that Swadeshi and boycott movements are the two sides of the same coin. He was one of the most eminent radicals at that time. In fact, it was the Swadeshi movement of 1905 to 1907 that resulted in the split within the Indian National Congress into moderates and extremists. Tilak opposed the moderate views of Gopalakrishna Gokhale and was supported by the fellow Indian nationalists Bipin Chandrapal in Bengal and Lala Lajpat Rai in Punjab. They were referred to as Lal Bal Pal Trio. During his lifetime, among other political cases, Tilak had been tried for sedition charges in three times by British India government in 1887, 1905, and 1916. In 1897, Tilak was
ಹೌದು ಸಾತ್ವಿಕ್, ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿದ ಬಾಲ್ ಗಂಗಾಧರ್ ತಿಲಕ್ ಅವರ ಮಾತುಗಳು ನಮಗೆ ಸ್ಫೂರ್ತಿದಾಯಕವಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಅವರು ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರು ಹಾಗೂ ಒಂದು ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷರ ವಿರುದ್ಧ ಜನರನ್ನು ಒಟ್ಟುಗೂಡಿ ಮಾಡಿದವರು.
and sentenced to 18 months in prison for views he had expressed in case is newspaper. In 1908, he was again charged with sedition charges for his articles published in trial in 1909. In 1916, when for third time Tilak was charged for sedition over his lectures on two Bengali youths, Professor Kaki and Gudiram Muzaffarpur, to kill the chief presidency magistrate, the King's Fort, Calcutta. But erroneously, he killed two women in it. Jackie Comet been caught and boss was angry. His paper Kesari and for immediate Swaraj, or the government simply charged with him sedition. At the conclusion of the trial, the judge, Dinshawati Davar, gave him a 6 years jail sentence to be served in Mandalay, Burma, and a fine of ₹1,000. Imagine thousands of kilometers away from his homeland, separated from his family, locked inside a prison cell. Did Tilak surrender? No, his chains could imprison his body, but never his thoughts, nor his pen rested. That becomes memorable. Tilak began to further develop his ideas regarding the Swaraj and on Indian national movements. When Tilak entered Mandalay jail, instead of immediately saying, he thought of creating the long-lasting effect of Swaraj and wrote is one of the greatest works, Gita Rahasya. In his book, he explained that Bhagavad Gita teaches us not to run away from the duty, but to perform it with dedication. This message remains timeless. Whenever life becomes difficult, remember it. Great people do not wait for perfect circumstances. They create greatness even in difficult situations. Then many copies were sold and many money was donated to the Indian freedom struggle. Tilak developed diabetes during his sentence in Mandalay prison.
ಹೌದು, ನಮ್ಮ ಸಾತ್ವಿಕ್ ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ ಆದವರು ಇಂದು ಬಾಲ್ ಗಂಗಾಧರ್ ತಿಲಕ್ ಅವರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಮಾತನಾಡಿದರು. ಅವರು ಹೇಳಿದಂತೆಯೇ ಬಾಲ್ ಗಂಗಾಧರ್ ತಿಲಕ್ ಅವರು ನಮ್ಮ ನೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರು ಹಾಗೂ ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷರ ವಿರುದ್ಧ ಜನರನ್ನು ಒಟ್ಟುಗೂಡಿಸಿ ಈ ದೇಶಕ್ಕೆ ಅಪಾರವಾದ ಕೊಡುಗೆಯನ್ನು ನೀಡುತ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಕೊನೆಯದಾಗಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಸಾತ್ವಿಕ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನು ತಿಳಿಸುತ್ತೇನೆ. ಈಗ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಮುಂದಿನ ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ ಆದ ಐಸಿರಿ ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ಕೆನರಾ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಮಂಗಳೂರಿನ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿನಿ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಿಂದ ತಮ್ಮ ಮುಂದೆ ವಸುದೈವ ಕುಟುಂಬಕಂ ಎಂಬ ವಿಷಯದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತನಾಡಲು ಬರುತ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
Pranams to everyone who has
Tilak
joined
and
the program. It gives me immense pleasure to talk about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, India's gift to the world. When a time when people around the world were in crisis, India was the first to lend its hand because, as we say, Bharat has always been a mata, a mother, and she has always been ready to serve her children during the time of troubles. There are several instances that I could present before you to prove that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam has not just been a simple phrase that we use in daily lives, but also something that we embed deeply within ourselves. During the COVID pandemic, India has provided vaccines to over 99 countries. When Afghanistan was in trouble and crisis and was a war-torn place, India has always been a place of refugee. During the cyclones of Sri Lanka, India has been the one to help them first and to help them evacuate from the place. India has also provided several digital payment systems to over 10 countries. Imagine sharing something so important to different people just so that they could benefit from it. It doesn't stop there. It extends beyond the help that we do to the countries. It also goes up to several scientists, mathematicians, artists, activists, and entrepreneurs who have done selfless work to help not just India, but the world. Because Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is something that we not just talk about in our speeches, but is something that we have in our minds and hearts and souls. When we say the pledge, India is my country and all Indians are my brothers and sisters, we are not just talking about that in our pledge. And it doesn't just stop with India. It goes beyond India. And it doesn't just stop in the world. It goes beyond the world. It goes to humanity. It goes to the plants and the animals there. And it goes to the planet that we reside in. And that exactly is the essence of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam in the lives of every Indian. So let me talk about a few scientists who have made India mark its mark on the world map by contributing immensely to the scientific advancements and technological developments and hasn't refrained from sharing it to the world. Let me give a few examples. Homi Jahangir Baba was a great scientist and a renowned atomic scientist who was also the chair of Atomic Energy Commission of India. And he had strong connections with people around the world, notably Robert J. Oppenheimer. They closely collaborated and made sure that whatever scientific advancements were happening was not just limited to one country, but was shared around the world. There are other scientists that I could tell you. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam and his mentor, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, together started ISRO. And now everyone knows Indian Space Research Organization making its mark around the world because it has been so renowned that it has been known for making sustainable rockets. It has been known for doing things in a way lesser cost than people around the world are doing. So they like to adopt our technologies. There are scientists and rocket scientists such as Nambi Narayanan, who, even though studied in colleges like Princeton, chose to come back from India and then contribute to the entire world. People who studied in Oxbridge colleges such as Oxford and Cambridge, and Ivy League colleges such as Harvard, Dartmouth, Cornell, Columbia, Princeton, University of Pennsylvania came back to India. Why? Because they wanted to advance India's technological and scientific developments. But they didn't stop there. They knew that keeping things within our own country would just limit our knowledge, and that is not the goal. They wanted the knowledge to reach to the people around the world, and they made sure that that could happen. A few other people that I would like to mention were mathematicians, without whom I think the world of mathematics would be incomplete. Dr. Srinivasa Ramanujan, one of the most renowned mathematicians from India. He was known for being such a smart person, and he developed his own solutions to the problems that no one could solve. And even till date, students from around the world refer his problems and solutions, his textbooks to solve mathematical issues. And another mathematician that everyone knows, Aryabhatta, the person who coined zero. Imagine what would computer systems look like without zero. Zero is something that has so much value. Imagine not having zero in our number system, in our numerical systems. How would we even coin the number 10 or 100 or 1000 or any number that has zero? Aryabhatta's contributions to the world of mathematics has been instrumental, and it doesn't just stop in India, but it extends around the world. There are other scholars like Charaka who contributed immensely to the science world, especially in the world of surgery. There are great economists like Chanakya, who were the gurus of Arthashastra or the economics. There were great colleges in India which were unfortunately burned down by people whom we call as our enemy, who we used to call as our enemies. But even today, the libraries that they burnt, we don't keep that grudge in our mind, but instead we help them. Great colleges like Takshashila and Nalanda still serve as a pride for us Indians. But that doesn't just stop there in scientific and mathematical advancements. It goes beyond. We, the Indians, were the pioneers of Ayurveda, the medical sciences. The modern medicine has derived much of its knowledge from Ayurveda. Ayurveda doesn't use any of the chemical or chemical inducing methods, but rather tries to treat patients with as natural materials as possible. Yoga has also been started in India. I was talking to a friend recently and she shared with me. She told me, Aisiri, how yoga has always been helpful for her during the time of anxiety, especially during exams. So, yoga doesn't just stop in Raja Yoga or Hatha Yoga, it goes beyond that, and it even goes beyond the spiritual practices and meditations. It has helped people around the world to recover from health problems. It has helped people to gain confidence. It has helped people to, battle anxiety. And many people do know this, but they forget the fact that India has been the birthplace for over three, religions, which is Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism. All of them originated in India, but now these religions doesn't just exist in India, but they have traveled far, far beyond India. And I would also like to note a few freedom fighters' collaborations with other freedom fighters around the world. When India was during the independence movement, there were several freedom fighters like Shahid Bhagat Singh, who I would like to remember, Chandrasekhar Azad, and a few other great freedom fighters, and Mahatma Gandhi, who coined the term ahimsa. He wanted to make sure that things that we do in our country wouldn't harm any other person, not just Indians, but also to the East India Company who had invaded us back then. He was a staunch believer of non-violence, and till date, the student protesters make sure that non-violence is something that they embed in themselves. They make sure that no one is harmed physically or mentally when they do protests or go on strikes. So there are a few other operations that I would like to list out, which India has been successfully able to complete during the last few years. Operation Rahat, which happened in Yemen, Operation Kaveri, which happened in Sudan, Operation Ajay, which happened in Israel, which didn't just help evacuating Indians, but also to the foreign nationals as well during crisis. So see, India has always been there for others, not just like people who would help them during trouble, the times of trouble, but like the family members who will be there for other family members during the time of crisis. And I believe that peace and dignity is something India upholds at the utmost importance. And Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, Vishwa Bandhutvam, or brotherhood is not something that we preach in speeches or news or our articles or our essays, but something that we live in. In the past, India has always exhibited valor and sacrifice to help people around the world. And even in the present times, India has always been instrumental in helping people around the world. And I'm sure in the future too, we will be able to render our services to people during the time of crisis, but not just the time of crisis, but also during whenever they need us. And I believe that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is not just about people that we surround ourselves with, not just the neighboring countries, not just the countries of the world, but it goes beyond that. We consider as our planet, our wildlife, our ecosystem, our biodiversity, also as our family. And we have exhibited these qualities since time immemorial. Even today, even till date, foreign nationals and tourists come to India to research our biodiversity hotspots such as Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats. They carry out their research processes, and we, as a country, India, have been open for any such people who want to come and do their work in India. It's such an open culture where we don't limit the knowledge sharing. We always make sure that the knowledge reaches not just to people of our country, but to the people of the entire world. We have always been pioneers of saving the planet one step at a time, and I'm proud to say that we have established so many wildlife rehabilitation centers, so many conservation spaces, and we have been uh, making so many changes in our systems that function so effortlessly, which helps people around the world. And I think it doesn't just stop there. India has always made sure that we include other people in important key discussions. India hosts conference like G20, where countries like South Africa have been given the strong voice to speak out. And I feel like these things aren't very important, but what is important is the role of youth that we have to play, because our ancestors and our people from the past have inspired us, and now it is our responsibility to carry forward the message of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Because now, as I said, we can't just limit ourselves to thinking that we will help our classmates or our friends or our family members or the people of our district or state or country. We have to go beyond that. We have to make sure that international collaboration is not just something that we talk, but also something that we do in action through real life. I can give a few examples. Recently, when there was an online conference that was happening in Zoom, there were people and delegates from around the world that had joined. We shared our knowledge, we shared our experiences. And when I spoke about my experiences, there were people from other countries who were empathizing from what I have experienced as well. So that shows of how people from different countries have similar stories to share, and people from other nationalities have something that is very close to our own heart. So yes, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is a very important essence and a very important message that we have for the world. And India has always made sure that we have lived it in our reality, and we will continue to do so. With that said, I would like to say Dhanyavad to Disha Bharat platform for giving me an opportunity to speak about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And I hope that we all as citizens of India uphold the dignity and make sure that Vishwa Bandhutvam and Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is not just something that we talk about, but also live. Dhanyavad.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಐಸಿರಿ ಅವರೇ. ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ ವಸುದೈವ ಕುಟುಂಬಕಂ ಎಂಬುದು ಕೇವಲ ಒಂದು ನುಡಿಗಟ್ಟಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಭಾರತೀಯ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತಿ, ಅತ್ಯುನ್ನತ ಚಿಂತನೆ ಮತ್ತು ಜಾಗೃತಿಕ ಏಕತೆಯನ್ನು ಸಂಕೇತಿಸುತ್ತದೆ. ಹೀಗೆ ಹೇಳುತ್ತಾ ನಿಮಗೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನು ತಿಳಿಸುತ್ತೇನೆ. ಈಗ ಇಂದಿನ ಸಂಜೆಯ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಪಟ್ಟಿಯನ್ನು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮುಂದೆ ವಿವರಿಸುತ್ತೇನೆ. ವಂಶಿಕಾ ಮೆತಿಪಲ್ ಅವರಿಂದ ಪಂಚಮಹಾಜ್ಞಾನಗಳು, ಅಂಚಿಕಾ ಪ್ರಮೋದ್ ಸಿಂಗ್ ಅವರಿಂದ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿಯುತ ಪೌರತ್ವಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರವೇಶನೆ, ಭಾರತದ ಭವ್ಯವಾದ ಪರಂಪರೆ, ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿತ್ವಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣದ ಆಚರಿಸಲು ಯುವ ಮನಸ್ಸುಗಳನ್ನು ವೇದಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ಏರ್ಪಡಿಸಿದೆ. ಇದನ್ನು ನೀವು ವೀಕ್ಷಿಸಿ ಎಂದು ಕೇಳುತ್ತೇನೆ. ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಕೊನೆಯದಾಗಿ ವಂದನಾರ್ಪಣೆ. ಇಂದಿನ ಮೈ ಭಾರತ್ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿ ಸಂವಾದದ ಭಾಗವಾಗಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ಗಳಿಗೆ ತಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಫೂರ್ತಿದಾಯಕ ಮಾತುಗಳಿಗೂ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ನಮ್ಮ ಮಾರ್ಗದರ್ಶಕರು ಮತ್ತು ಸ್ವಯಂ ಸೇವಕರಿಗೆ ತಮ್ಮ ಮಾರ್ಗದರ್ಶನಕ್ಕೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ತಮ್ಮ ತಡರಹಿತ ನೇರ ಪ್ರಸಾರವನ್ನು ಖಚಿತಪಡಿಸುವ ತಾಂತ್ರಿಕ ತಂಡಕ್ಕೂ ನನ್ನ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಬಲಿಷ್ಠ ಭಾರತವನ್ನು ನಿರ್ಮಿಸುವ ನಿಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಕಲಿಯುವುದು, ಸೇವೆ ಮಾಡುವುದು ಮತ್ತು ಕೊಡುಗೆ ನೀಡುವುದು ಮುಂದುವರಿಸೋಣ. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಜೈ ಹಿಂದ್, ವಂದೇ ಮಾತರಂ. ಕೊನೆಯದಾಗಿ ನಾನು ಒಂದು ಮೂಲಕ ಇಂದಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಅಂತಿಮಗೊಳಿಸಲು ಇಷ್ಟಪಡುತ್ತೇನೆ. ಓಂ ಸರ್ವೇ ಭವಂತು ಸುಖಿನಃ, ಸರ್ವೇ ಸಂತು ನಿರಾಮಯ, ಸರ್ವೇ ಭದ್ರಾಣಿ ಪಶ್ಯಂತು, ಮಾ ಕಶ್ಚಿತ್ ದುಃಖ ಭಾಗ ಭವೇತ್. ಓಂ ಶಾಂತಿ ಶಾಂತಿ ಶಾಂತಿ. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
Please note, ಇವತ್ತು ಸಾಯಂಕಾಲ there is a talk on My Bharat, History of Victory, Great Resistance Against All Invasions. Speaker for the day, Shri Sandeep Balakrishna, eminent author and columnist, The Dharma Dispatch. Please watch us Facebook live. Thank you.